Hi and welcome under the moon tree. That was a swan. Swans again. Clearing our space and clearing our minds with the swans for messages to come through and messages to come through. And welcome. Today I would like to send a lot of love and prayers of protection and safety and healing for anyone and everyone who is having a hard time in their lives for whatever reasons, health or personal issues, or also the issues caused by the severe weather problems across the planet these days. And I hope you are all safe, and may you be safe, may you be protected, and may you be well. May you find healing and protection today and always. And so it is. And much love for all of you, all of us. May you be happy. And we already have a card. And here it is. Evolve. And I would like to dedicate this card to one of you viewers, because I pulled this card a couple of days ago, inspired by a very beautiful comment. I'm not going to tell it all here, but the commenter knows. And I will just say that the comment was about when she was a magical fae child, and realizing or believing that she had fae blood. And when she realized this, then she was sad that she didn't have wings. I'm not telling the whole comment, but even this part may resonate to others here as well. Resonates with me. And I was quite inspired by this comment, and I pulled a card for her and for all of us about those wings. And it was evolve. Your wings. So, and now I'm hearing from the fae, see, you even had the wings, and all the rest that comes with being a magical fae child and a magical fae being of fae blood, or we might say of fae soul blood, fae tribe. Yeah, I think this may resonate with others as well. And yeah, a time when this your fae being may be coming to the surface for some. And inspired by this card, I'm going to pull another one from the same deck of the Earthly Souls and Spirits. Earthly Souls and Spirits Moon Oracle, yes, by Terri Foss. And dear spirits, dear fae, dear elementals, it's an interesting sound I just heard. Dear fae, what more do you wish to say? Seeing tranquility on the split. With a crow seated on the moon, or a raven. Actually, just before I started this reading, there was a flock of ravens and a crow that came to visit my yard. And it felt pretty important as well. So crows and ravens as spirits, as spirit animals for some, and as shamanic guides. On finding that tranquil space. And I'm called to say also that when I started the reading, now the sun has set already, or is about to set. It's behind the trees as we are here in Finland. It's the light summer nights, as you may see behind me. It looks very light, but it's the sun has gone beyond the forest. Actually, it's evening here. And when I started this reading, sun was shining and there were some farmers working on the field and making noise, so I thought I would just sit a moment, and then I started to feel a lot of fatigue, and I felt it was part of the message, like exhausted fatigue. But then I was like, how am I going to start the reading, because I feel so exhausted. And this card somehow now speaks to me of finding that the difference, of course, there's a huge difference between tranquility and being fatigued or exhausted. And breathing into that tranquil state through the exhaustion, if any one of you is in fatigue circumstances. For me, now that I have started my reading, yes, I have reached this tranquility instead of the feeling of fatigue. Perhaps even guided there by the visiting ravens and their crow friend. Yes, here with the evolve beside the tranquility, what I was thinking about the, because sometimes truly, however, sometimes our exhaustion or fatigue can be because of such hard life circumstances that we sent our prayers to in the beginning of this reading, or sometimes it may just come from hard work or even hard play like hard sports or whatever, but as a kind of a side effect we may find when we have been exhausted or have exhausted ourselves, even if it's through harsh circumstance or even if it's through play, there is like a portal in the exhaustion that if we surrender to it, there is endless tranquility. And it is just a breath away, a place that we can return to. And if our circumstances continue, those that cause us to be very tired, once we find the way, and I hear the raven knows the way, so I'm saying it. Yeah, once we find the way, it is always open. And also, yeah, the Fae are saying those of our magical blood and soul, those of our tribe, you know the way back. Yeah. And now something I need to show you something that I realized, and I think I need to share this with you. I will turn the camera. Yes, such an interesting moment to realize this. But earlier, when I was speaking to you, I realized for the first time that my hair is graying. This is the first time that I have seen it. Of course, it must have been going on for a while. Yeah, I'm over 50, 50 years old. But realizing it and it coming out here, it's a very important message. It's coming in this reading and with these cards here. Yeah, I swear I have never noticed that it's graying, and now I see it, that there's quite a few gray hairs there. Evolve and the crow may be resonating with some of you as well. Evolving and growing your wings, but also evolving into the crow or the crown for us females. But even if you are not identifying as the female crown, for males as well, and for people who are not of the crown age, coming to the crown age, the spiritual changes and new wisdom gained by sort of breaking through some important physical, evolving into a new physical, what's it called, change of life. Like for females it's called the change of life or menopause, but just like puberty or just like becoming a young adult or reaching the 30s, reaching the 40s, breaching the gates of crownhood or the next gates that I am not yet aware of what they shall feel like. Yeah, so for some of you, and the moon of the cycles, yeah, perhaps experiencing the changes brought by new cycles in your particular age period, evolving physically and emotionally and spiritually. 333, angel number, and the 333 angel number now speaking to me also of the sign for someone evolving as a light worker or whatever your personal way of working as a guide for others. 333 is related to that, and trusting your path, or that it is something important for you to evolve into. And it doesn't necessarily mean, for instance, speaking in public or such things, but doing your thing, being that light in this our world. There's a lot of mosquitoes here now. That's the joy of the summer nights. The light summer nights, yeah. But I was very excited to share this moment of my graying hair with you guys. It's amazing. I'm finally there. I did it. And with these words, I want to share. This song was in a much earlier reading that I did. I think I mentioned the song. We got the power to be loving each other no matter what happens, by Gorillaz. Because it was ringing in my head when I was feeling this fatigue before making the reading. And I played it, and the words also say that, I don't remember exactly now, but we got the power for change. And we have done it before. Evolve. we got the power for change, and we have done it before. And then it says that we are indestructible even though we're tired, and we have been here before, you and I. Yes, we are indestructible even though we're tired, and we have been here before, you and I. And of course, as we all know, it doesn't mean that we are physically indestructible, but in spirit. Yeah. And we have been here before through these cycles. 707 angel number. These physical cycles and these worldly cycles, global, working out changes in this world, physical cycles of our bodies, and spiritual, psychological, emotional, and in spirit we are indestructible, even though, or even if, we are tired. Not all of us, of course. Some of you may be feeling quite full of cheer and youth and vigor at this moment, and I congratulate you. And I'm feeling myself now, right now. I had a boost of that as well. Dear Spirit, our guides, and yeah, like I said, that magical fate child is always within us. Dear Spirit, what a weird way to pick up the cards. Balance, evolve, and balance. And here, tranquility. Here, the full moon. And it was just the full moon. It's almost full still. And then the waning moon of the crown. What was that? Did you guys see it? I wonder if it was one of the mosquitoes. It was like, oh, yeah. I think also a message from our guides of love and balance. I'm called to take a shamanic oracle, mystic shaman, dear Spirit, our guides. What message from our Fae tribe? Wild woman. Perhaps even, is it really wild woman? Yeah, wild woman it's called. 62. How fitting with that grey hair and crown and everything. Even if you're a wild woman aged 18, or a wild man, or something in between, or none of these things. It's the wilderness and dancing to those cycles, dancing Yeah, and I hear 1111, dancing through those cycles and dancing through the tears and the laughter. What's the... I'm seeing like a feather in her heart. And the birds. I was seeing the swans, almost like a tribe of swans, but maybe any types of birds, returning with the cycles. I'm hearing some human voices. I have to stop and see who it is. Yeah, sorry, I had to check when I heard human voices so close by it, that they were not on my yard. And it was from the road. But yes, dancing through the cycles. And dancing through doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, not at all. But the strength of that spirit of wildness, whether you are a wild woman or a wild man, whatever your age may be, calling on that strength, calling on that wild spirit as your strength. And indeed, I can say with my hair here, it only gets wilder. Surrender to it and it only gets wilder. Getting wilder year by year. One more shamanic one. Dear spirit. Yeah, and yeah, also before I show you this card, this wild woman here, she's very, very, to me she feels very much like a fae being of my country. Look, her hair growing as trees, and her body rising from elements of the earth. Very, very wild fae vibes. Ancient fae vibe. Yeah. And we got the journey. Yes. Absolutely. And guided on a journey to places, yes, where there are no drawn maps, yet guided you are. And here getting his owl, lighting his vision and guiding him, and his position of surrendering to his journey. Surrendering to follow his journey and his guidance. And trust in that surrender. There is trust. Where did our tarot go? Should we? Dear Spirit, our guides, the mosquitoes. Cards chosen by a mosquito. 9 of Winter and the Prince of Autumn. And the 9 of Winter is the card of the 9 of Swords. And the traditional card of worry or sitting up and like she's here, like what we were speaking about, the exhaustion, but like here not able to sleep because of her worries and or maybe fears. Yet here she's gazing at the moon, and is there something in the window? Actually, I'm seeing like there's the shape of a bat. For some of us, bats may even be guides and bring us off trust and guidance. Yeah, but here beside her bed are the doves of peace and love. And I can see how she's holding her heart and looking at the moon. Yet whatever our circumstance, remember, we're indestructible even though we're tired. And allow yourself to rest. And this for people in difficult situations, but oftentimes, of course, most of us, many of us have been also through situations where, like the card says, worry has grown out of proportion in our daily lives. And I'm getting the story, the fairy tale of, there are different versions of some young person who is presented with a task that feels impossible, but they have these animal guides and they must complete their task by the morning, and the animal guide will say, or sometimes it's a spirit guide, like a fairy godmother for instance, they will say to this young person that the morning is wiser than the evening, rest now. And then during the night they have worked, and miraculously the task is completed. This was just coming through. And here we have the Prince of Autumn, who is, among other things, and especially for me in my readings, he also represents a spirit guide. And in this card, this earthly Prince of Autumn, Prince of Pentacles, or Knight of Pentacles, well grounded, yet levitating on his leaf, moving slow and steady, but at the same time floating. And kindness, yeah, protection, and caution, and moving slow and steady. But somehow all these mosquitoes and both of these cards also remind me, somehow his wings started to remind me of a moth, like the mosquitoes here. It's getting a bit crazy actually. I think we can manage a few more, dear spirit, our guides. But yeah, the morning is wiser than the evening. Also reminded me of the South American worry dolls, that you can tell they are like these guides that would take care of the things during the night. Perhaps someone has such dolls. I have had such dolls and used them for many years. I haven't used them actually in a while, but yeah. And you tell them your worry in the evening. You put them by your bed, they come in a little pouch. Tell them your worries and put them out, and in the morning you put them back in the pouch. Yeah, I've had such dolls for a very long time, and at times they worked hard for me. Dear spirit, the magician. Yeah, we got the power, and the power for change, and for manifesting. He's got here I'm very drawn to the fact that he has the DNA, as we had this evolve card. DNA in his stuff. And she's coming to meet him. And very strongly speaking of we got the power for change. You can do anything. Take charge of your life. You can manifest what you need to be a success. And here, this road in this particular magician card leads to the Tower of Saint Michael in Glastonbury. Or so I remember. This may be important for someone. Manifesting miracles. Yes, Spirit. Our guides. The Queen of Summer, or the Queen of Wands, the Witch Queen of the Tarot, of fiery creative energies, loving and caring for others, and listening to her heart. And yes, we got to the loving and highly intuitive, comforting Queen of Summer, when the mosquitoes made me decide that the morning is indeed wiser than the evening. And that sometimes it is easy to ignore the incessant of tiny mosquito voices around you and their attempts to suck on your life's blood. But at some point there comes a time when enough is enough. So that is maybe a message for someone as well, and a good message for all of us, even if it's not acute right now in our lives. And yes, and the Queen of Summer here, actually in this text by Radleigh Valentine, listen to your heart, intuitive insights you can trust, taking care of others, perhaps too much, also bringing a strong message of the importance of self-love. And when it comes to that unconditional love, when loving others, love, there is never too much love, but there is the time for self-love and boundaries, of course, especially when it comes to what I said about the mosquitoes, right? We all know this, and sometimes we still let that go a bit too far, and it can become draining. But even in non-mosquito types of situations of caring and loving and taking care in physical actions of taking care, with this theme of the tiredness that came up, the importance of self-love, finding time for self-love and self-healing to gain that strength, regain, filling your cup. And now this Queen of Summer, she's also reminding me very much with her sunflowers and the flaming red sunset or sunrise behind her. I'm being reminded of what we started this reading with, of the problems caused by the severe weather around the world, and with the sunflowers, the fires in Europe, like France and Spain, just come to my mind. And with that, our Prince of Autumn, actually in Radleigh Valentine's deck, I think I'll pick him up in my hand. And here he is, the Prince of Autumn of Radleigh Valentine's Faery Tarot. And in his booklet for the cards, that I don't know where my booklet is at the moment, but I know that he describes the Prince of Autumn and the person represented by the Prince of Autumn, perhaps you, as a protector of the environment and or an activist for the environment. And whether this is more visible working as an activist for the planet, or day-to-day choices, life choices. Yeah, for indeed, when it comes to those cycles and the cycles of the body of our Mother Earth, it is true, as we can all now very plainly see, that we have entered the harshest or the most critical environmental period of our modern times, that the effects are plainly visibly in motion now. Yet now the words in this card, the words caring for others, perhaps too much. Also, I'm hearing that don't care so much, or yes, like the Nine of Winter, don't be paralyzed by worry. And like our magician here, that we have the power for change. And we have the power to be loving each other and to be healing each other, the planet. No matter what happens. The magician calls us with the Queen of Summer and the Prince of Autumn, to remember that we are not powerless if we do not let ourselves be paralyzed by fear or hopelessness. Yes, never give in to hopelessness. And through all the cycles that we have been, the place where we have the power for change is always here. There was 444 angel number, actually, that of building something, a new foundation, a new balance. Yeah, powerful times. And though not in a good way, in those aspects that we can see, but at the same time still holding the seeds and stems of the most powerful changes, because it is now absolutely required. And also the Prince of Autumn here, he speaks to me as a messenger. Yeah, he is always for me a messenger, even to the pure lands of the otherworldly pure lands of that resemble our natural world, and those fairy realms intertwined, living together with us humans on Gaia. And he speaks to those of his heart, of his blood, of Fae tribe walking in human bodies. Yeah, a messenger and the gatekeeper. And one of those of the speaking of the story of morning is wiser than the evening. Rest now. Yes, it is when it comes to our Mother Earth and many other things. True. And though the Fae cannot do it all by themselves, but to in that rest find your magician in the morning, every morning, and every time you need it. And also you even had the wings. You even had the wings to begin with. Yeah. Sadly, the time has flown. I had a story I really wanted to share about related to Fae relatives and Fae blood, but perhaps we shall make a part 2 of this reading that has to do with that story. Reminded of now of the 1001 Nights, yeah. Perhaps resonates with someone. Thank you. Happy to be with you last night and this morning, and hope you enjoyed the reading. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you feel called to. Hope to see you next time, and sending you all my love. Namaste.